For more than 4 decades, the Islamic Republic of Iran has pursued a strategy that its critics call stubborn and its leaders call steadfast. It is a strategy shaped by revolution, war, isolation, and survival. To understand it, one must return to 1979, when the Ruhollah Khomeini led a revolution that overthrew Mohammad Reza Pahlavi and transformed Iran from a pro-Western monarchy into an Islamic republic built on the doctrine of velayat-e-faqih, the guardianship of the jurist. The new leadership defined itself in opposition to foreign domination, especially that of the United States, which it labeled the Great Satan. The seizure of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and the 444-day hostage crisis set the tone for a foreign policy rooted in resistance and defiance. From the beginning, the system fused ideology with national interest, insisting that independence from foreign pressure was not only a principle, but a necessity for survival.
The first great test of this strategy came in 1980, when Saddam Hussein's Iraq invaded Iran, launching the brutal 8-year Iran-Iraq War. Isolated and under arms embargoes, Iran relied on mass mobilization, revolutionary zeal, and asymmetric tactics to defend its territory. The war devastated the country, but reinforced a powerful lesson. Iran could endure extreme pressure without surrendering its core positions. The memory of chemical attacks, international indifference, and economic hardship hardened the leadership's belief that self-reliance in defense and technology was essential. After the war ended in 1988, Iran began rebuilding its conventional forces while investing heavily in ballistic missiles, naval swarm tactics in the Persian Gulf, and relationships with non-state allies across the region.
In the 1990s and 2000s, Iran developed what analysts later described as a forward defense doctrine. Rather than waiting for threats at its borders, Tehran sought strategic depth beyond them. Through support for groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and later various militias in Iraq and Syria, Iran built a network of influence stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. This so-called axis of resistance was not simply ideological. It was a calculated effort to deter adversaries by ensuring that any attack on Iran could trigger responses across multiple fronts. During the U.S. invasions of Afghanistan in 2001 and Iraq in 2003, Iran navigated a complex environment, opposing the Taliban while also resisting long-term American military presence in the region. The removal of Saddam Hussein eliminated a major enemy, but brought U.S. forces to Iran's doorstep, reinforcing Tehran's suspicion of Western intentions.
Central to Iran's modern strategy has been its nuclear program. Officially framed as peaceful and within its rights under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the program became the focal point of international tension. As enrichment activities expanded in the early 2000s, the United Nations and Western powers imposed layers of sanctions that severely restricted Iran's economy. Yet, Iran did not abandon enrichment. Instead, it advanced its technical capacity while engaging in intermittent negotiations. This pattern, resist pressure, endure sanctions, negotiate from a position of resilience, became a hallmark of what observers call its stubborn approach. The strategy reached a turning point in 2015 with the signing of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action under President Hassan Rouhani. In exchange for sanctions relief, Iran accepted limits and monitoring on its nuclear activities. For a moment, it appeared that pragmatism had tempered defiance.
That balance shifted in 2018 when U.S. President Donald Trump withdrew from the agreement and reimposed sweeping sanctions under a maximum pressure campaign. Iran responded not with capitulation, but with calibrated escalation, gradually reducing its compliance with the deal while avoiding an outright collapse of diplomacy. Tensions peaked in January 2020 when a U.S. drone strike in Baghdad killed Qasem Soleimani, commander of the Quds Force. Iran retaliated with missile strikes on U.S. bases in Iraq, carefully signaling resolve while limiting casualties to avoid full-scale war. Once again, Tehran demonstrated a preference for controlled confrontation rather than direct, open conflict. Domestically, this strategy has come at high cost. Sanctions have fueled inflation, currency depreciation, and public discontent. Waves of protests have erupted over economic hardship and social restrictions. Yet the political system, anchored by the supreme leader, currently Ali Khamenei, has maintained its core orientation. The leadership argues that yielding to external pressure would invite further demands and erode sovereignty. Supporters see resilience. Critics see rigidity that deepens isolation. Both interpretations acknowledge the same pattern. Iran absorbs pressure, adapts tactically, but rarely alters its strategic direction.
Regionally, Iran's influence expanded significantly during the Syrian civil war, where it backed the government of Bashar al-Assad, viewing Syria as a vital link in its regional network. In Iraq, political and militia ties have given Tehran enduring leverage. In Yemen, its support for the Houthi movement has added another layer to its rivalry with Saudi Arabia. At sea, in the narrow Strait of Hormuz, Iran has demonstrated its capacity to disrupt global energy flows, reinforcing its deterrent posture. These actions are consistent with a doctrine that seeks to raise the cost of containment and signal that Iran cannot be excluded from regional security arrangements.
The label stubborn oversimplifies a strategy that blends ideology with calculated pragmatism. Iran negotiates when it sees benefit, as in 2015, and escalates when it perceives threats, as after 2018. It relies on asymmetric tools because its conventional military power cannot match that of the United States or its allies. It invests in missiles and drones, not aircraft carriers, in alliances with non-state actors, not formal military blocs. This is not impulsive defiance, but a long-term approach rooted in the experience of revolution and war.
In the end, Iran's strategy is less about short-term victories than about endurance. The leadership believes that time can erode the resolve of stronger adversaries, that regional dynamics will shift, and that technological self-sufficiency will reduce vulnerability. Whether this approach ultimately secures prosperity and stability for its people remains uncertain. What is clear is that for more than 40 years, through sanctions, conflict, diplomacy, and crisis, the Islamic Republic has followed a consistent path. Resist external domination, preserve the system, expand influence where possible, and negotiate only from a position it defines as strength. To its supporters, this is principled resistance. To its critics, it is costly obstinacy. To history, it is a case study in how a middle power, forged in revolution and war, seeks to survive and shape its environment through patience, pressure, and an unyielding sense of sovereignty.